I wanted to talk about this new system I've just got done building. I want to share it with you. Decided to put a Victron shunt in this system, and that way I could use Bluetooth to monitor the battery charging and all that kind of stuff. So I built this little user console with USB and a 12-volt socket switch to disable those, as well as an inverter switch, and then my on and off switch for the resistive bank on the battleborn battery. Some of these battleborns have a heater inside of them that'll heat them up so they don't get damaged when it's too cold to charge, and that's what these little wires are hooked to, is that switch over here on that console. So one goes to the positive and one goes to that little screw. Coming off my charge control, I've also got a little thermocouple there, and if it gets too hot in the cabinet, it will basically stop the solar charger from sending power in. Anyways, so I've got my 250 amp disconnect over here, and then I'm running a 250 amp mega little fuse. It's a blue C block there. And then this is a Victron 250 amp power distribution. And I want to correct one more thing. I believe this will disconnect up to 500 amps. And I'm running 4-aught cable up to this fuse block distribution. So again, the Victron distro here with the fuses can handle up to 250 amps. And then I've got a blue C for my smaller fusible items, 100 amp system there. I've only fused it at 40. I've also got a 40 coming in over here for my charge controller. And then for my inverter, I'm running, I believe it's 150, and we're going right over here to that 1500 watts straight through. Now on the negative side, I've decided to hook it right onto the Victron shunt because this can handle 500 amps. You'll notice that this also needs power for the little circuit board, so I brought him up and over, and he came with this little fuse setup, so I just took some power off the distribution for that. And that allows this thing to power up and function and give the feedback. Anyways, there's a little phone jack here, and there's a phone jack that plugs into the inverter over here. Kind of hard to see in the dark, but those two cables are what plug into each of those respectively. And then this right here is trailer wire with 4 wires. 2 of those wires come up and they're just hooked onto these, and the other 2 is a positive and a negative, and I had to fuse one side for those outlets on that little user console. So down here on the system, I've got a Moffi's 150 amp distribution. I'm bringing in 40 amps here and allowing 40, so it should stay nice and cool. But you can see why I wanted to hook the inverter right up to that 500 amp shunt, because it gives me a lot more thermal protection there. Anyways, coming over here to the AC side, AC's coming down, and I've decided to put a breaker because my inverter didn't come with any. The manufacturer claims it has all kinds of protections built in, but if you read up on code or talk to an electrician, they'll tell you that you need to breaker it and have some type of way of disconnecting it every time you make a new energy source. It's like a new service. So on my trailer, the transfer switch will plug directly into this, and when you turn the inverter on from that button, this outlet will go live, which will then flip the transfer switch and allow energy from this system to move into the RV. Now over here, I've got my demarcation point cut out, and there's 2 MC4 connectors. They're kind of hard to see, but they're down in there. So we'll bring the power in, plug it in there. It comes into this service disconnect, so we can disconnect the solar array coming in from the roof. Then these 2 come over, bring high voltage in, and there's that thermocouple that's over there sitting on the battery. And then out comes my 12 volts, positive DC and negative, back over here to my common, and then the positive goes up to that block. So anyways, we're going to do some testing on this system, and we'll play around with it a little bit, and I'll try to show you some of that. But I think I've got a pretty decent system put together here. Without the battery, you're probably around $1,000 in parts, and probably a week of labor, and depending on the battery system that you decide to add, you can figure out the cost from there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll try to put some of my test videos up so you guys can see that, but I'd love some questions and comments. Thanks.